Victoria Beckham, Queen of America, by Julie Aspinall. Chapter 1. In the Beginning. When Victoria Caroline Adams was born on April the 17th, 1974, there was nothing in her background to suggest that she would one day become an international superstar, and follow that up by marrying the greatest footballer of his generation. Yes, her father Tony had briefly dabbled in music in the 1960s, performing with a band called the Sonics, but then just about everyone dabbled in music back in the 60s. Anyway, the Sonics was just a tribute band that never made much of an impact on anyone, something Tony had accepted more than a decade before Victoria was born. His talent lay in business, not music, and it was as an entrepreneur that he made his money and his name. If truth be told, Victoria's background was the type that produces hairdressers or insurance clerks. Her mother was both, and her sister trained as the former. Not driven pop stars intent on global domination, but it was a unique combination of character and circumstance that led Victoria to become what she is today. She was always interested in singing and dancing, talent she began to develop at the age of 3, while problems she encountered at school in her teenage years strengthened her resolve and built up her character, until she became a woman quite determined to succeed. Poor Victoria had a horrible time with bullies in her teenage years, but at the end of the day, to use her favourite expression, it is she who is the massively successful pop star, and they who, in all likelihood, are at the checkout counter of the local supermarket. In her darkest hours, Victoria must look on that as quite a consolation. Victoria doesn't like to admit it, but she really is a genuine Essex girl. She was born in Harlow. When she was still young, her family moved to North London, where her parents, Anthony Adams and Jacqueline Doreen Cannon, were both born and raised. The two had married 4 years previously. 3 years after Victoria was born, her sister Louise appeared, and then, in 1979, the family was made complete with the arrival of Victoria's brother Christian. Shortly after that, the Adams family moved to the country, to Goff's Oak in Hertfordshire. Their house, which had originally been an old schoolhouse, was soon the smartest in the village, and, once Tony had done it up, the only one with a swimming pool. When she was a very young child, Victoria's life was idyllic. Her parents were growing increasingly wealthy. They had set up Glade Realm, an electrical wholesaler, which was becoming a very successful business. The children grew up with lots of pets and took regular holidays. "I've been on holiday every year since I was born, to the Canary Islands and Spain," Victoria once declared. There was, however, the odd childhood drama, such as the time Victoria accidentally swallowed poison. "It was a really hot day. I was in my brownie uniform and I'd just got my safety in the home badge," Victoria recalls. "You know when you really need a drink and you don't just sip it, you glug it down without tasting it? Well, I saw a mug of liquid on the side and drank the whole thing before I realized it was a cup of pure bleach. Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. I ran out to the garden where my mum was. 'Stop being so rude, I'm talking to the gardener,' she said as I was gasping away. She thought I was joking. Then she realized, and the gardener held me up by my feet and shook me up and down to make me throw up, which is actually the worst thing to do because it just brings the burning sensation back up. Finally, Mum took me to the hospital, and it turned out okay." Brownies and drama apart, though, Victoria loved more than anything to dance. The passion for performing stems back to her very earliest days. She started learning her trade when she was barely more than a toddler. "I did some shows when I was very young, 2 or 3, she recalls. "When I was about 8, I did one where I was dressed up in a bright yellow top hat and tails with sequins all over it, yellow fishnet tights and yellow tap shoes with yellow tap bows. I danced to 'If My Friends Could See Me Now,' that Shirley MacLaine song from Sweet Charity, and I was Shirley MacLaine." In adult life, Victoria's heroine actually came to be Audrey Hepburn, but as an indication of what was to come, Shirley's song could...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?